The story begins with a man named Michael. Michael was 52 years old, but his soul felt older, worn thin by years of heartache. His wife, Anna, had passed away the year before, after a long and bitter battle with illness. She had been his compass, his joy, his quiet encouragement in the storms of life. Without her, Michael felt hollow, like a house with all its windows broken, letting in nothing but cold winds. He still went to work each day, wearing a polite smile for his coworkers, but when he returned home, silence wrapped itself around him like chains. Their once vibrant home, filled with Anna's laughter, her humming as she cooked, her Bible verses taped on the fridge, had become unbearably quiet. He couldn't even bring himself to clear her things. Her sweater still hung on the back of the chair, her slippers still sat by the bed. But the cemetery, that was something Michael avoided. He had gone once, for the funeral, but never again. Just the thought of standing at her grave made his chest tighten. What good would it do? He told himself, she's not there. She's in heaven. Isn't that what faith teaches? Yet, no matter how he reasoned, an ache remained. Deep down, he was angry at the sickness that took her, angry at the silence of his prayers, and perhaps, if he was honest, angry at God himself. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Michael sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at Anna's Bible. It was worn, the spine cracked, its pages filled with underlined verses and little handwritten notes in the margins. He ran his hand over the cover, and when he opened it, a piece of paper slipped out. It was a note, in Anna's handwriting. It read, "When I'm gone, don't be afraid to visit me. Not because I'll be there, but because God can meet you even in places of sorrow. My prayer is that you will find peace where you think there is only pain. Love always, Anna." Michael froze. Tears welled up in his eyes as he clutched the note against his chest. She had known. Somehow, she had known this would be his struggle. That Sunday, with trembling hands, he drove to the cemetery. The air was crisp, the trees bare, their branches reaching like arms toward the heavens. He almost turned back twice, but something pulled him forward. As he walked through the rows of headstones, his heart pounded. Finally, he found hers, Anna Grace Thompson, beloved wife, faithful servant of Christ. Michael's knees gave way, and he fell onto the damp grass. For the first time since her passing, he spoke aloud to her grave. "Anna, I'm sorry. I thought staying away would make it easier. But nothing has been easy without you." His voice cracked. "I've been so angry. At everything, even at God." In that moment, Michael felt the weight of his grief pour out like water breaking through a dam. He wept, his tears soaking the ground. And then, softly, he whispered a prayer, one he hadn't prayed in months. "Lord, I don't understand why you took her. But please, help me live with the love she left behind. Help me believe you're still here, even in this place." The cemetery was silent, yet within that silence, Michael felt something stir, like a gentle warmth wrapping around his broken spirit. It wasn't Anna's voice he heard, but it was peace. A peace he had long forgotten. As he sat there, a young woman approached, carrying flowers. She looked barely 20. She glanced at Michael, then at the grave. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I come here too. My dad's over there." She pointed to a nearby stone. Michael wiped his eyes and nodded. The girl placed her flowers, whispered a prayer, then turned back to him. "I used to think coming here meant holding on to pain. But my pastor told me something. He said visiting isn't about clinging to death, it's about remembering the love God gave us through the people we lost. And love doesn't die." Michael's breath caught. Her words, simple and sincere, felt like an answer to the prayer he had just spoken. He managed a small smile. "Thank you," he said, his voice raw but steadier. The girl nodded and walked away, leaving Michael alone again, but not as alone as before. From that day on, Michael began visiting more often. Sometimes he brought flowers. Sometimes he just sat and read Anna's Bible aloud, as though sharing scripture with her once more. At first, it hurt. But slowly, the grave became less of a place of despair and more of a place of reflection, a reminder of both love and eternity. And in that sacred rhythm, something changed within him. He returned to church, this time with an open heart. He started volunteering, offering comfort to others walking through grief, telling them what he had learned, that visiting a grave doesn't mean your faith is weak. Sometimes, it is faith in action. Sometimes, it is the bridge between pain and peace. So, what does the Bible say about visiting graves? It does not command it, nor forbid it. But Scripture reminds us, Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Graves can be places of tears, yes, but also of healing. They remind us of the brevity of life, the depth of love, and the hope of resurrection. Months later, as spring returned, Michael stood by Anna's grave, a fresh bouquet of lilies in hand. The willow tree nearby swayed gently in the breeze. He whispered, "I'll carry your love until I see you again." And for the first time in a long time, his words carried not sorrow, but peace. If this story touched your heart, let it be a reminder: grief does not mean the absence of faith. And visiting a grave can be more than mourning, it can be a way of walking with God through the valley of loss toward the promise of eternity. Thank you for listening. If you believe in the power of faith, love, and kindness, don't forget to subscribe, because sometimes the stories we share are the very stories that help heal us all.